Hello there, my name is Emmanuel Joseph Akile, the host of the Dawn program on iRadio. Today we will continue with our extensive coverage on the current political situation in the country, and I'm pleased to have my guest today here is Dr. James Okuk, a political analyst. Dr. James, it's good to have you with us today. It's been a while. Welcome to iRadio.
Thank you, Emmanuel Akili. It has been a while, but then with this issue of peace, some of us will not hesitate to come to studio and shed lights on what's happening.
Now, let's talk about we shed light. Let's cross to Nairobi directly, Dr. Cook, and we were surprised this morning to see a letter or a document released by the SPLM IO after the political bureau met yesterday, and the council met and chaired by, I believe, Dr. First Vice President, who's the chairman and CNC of the SPLM IO, withdrawing from the Tumaini Initiative and also rejecting the outcome of the protocol sign, in which the government itself has a representative of the SPLM IO. And we're talking about unity government signing the agreement with the stakeholders and also opposition groups. What's your take on that, Dr. Ukuk?
I am very disappointed and very upset with the the press release that was issued today, signed by the first Vice President of the Republic, His Excellency Dr. Riek Machar, after meeting his political bureau. Why I am upset? Because all along, South Sudan has not been in a very good shape, and most alarmingly, when crisis blew up in Sudan, it made things very complicated in South Sudan. Our oil flow was affected. Our people have to come running back. And then the humanitarian situation became very dire. The economic situation was dwindling. And the suffering was increasing. So in a situation like this, the most important thing is to give hope to the people that tomorrow will be better. You all on, be patient. Let's work for peace, and then things will be better. And that is exactly what the Tumaini Initiative has done. It came at the right time to give that type of hope that South Sudan is not doomed. Something can be done. Even when the revitalized peace agreement has not been implemented as expected and time is running out, there is still hope that thing can get back to the track. And that is what made people to really pay attention to Tumaini Initiative. And when they started in May, it was welcome that we need sustainable peace in South Sudan. And all the delegates from the revitalized government of national unity, they went there with the same hope that they will come up with something. Even when the principles that they have declared also was shedding hope. The speeches that were given during the launching were also very hopeful speeches. Even the gestures, the hugging, the whatever, was giving a hope to the people that something good and valuable, and that is sustainable peace, is coming to South Sudan. And that sustainable peace, what is it? At least to look at the revitalized peace agreement, what went wrong, and then address it, correct it, and then move forward to implement it. So that was the baseline. And those who were not happy with the revitalized peace agreement, they didn't sign it. These are the groups we call the non-signatories. They said they're ready to look into the revitalized peace agreement and see what is important for the country. And now we start to prioritize what needs to be done first, then what next, and all this. So they have been there from May up to July now. talking, negotiating, discussing the issues of peace in the country. Then on the 15th of this July, they initial the seven protocols. And these protocols were not new in a way, because some of them already were things they have already stated and they have signed before. So it created more hope that they're sitting in Nairobi in that Ole Serena Hotel is not for nothing. So something has to come out. And we were also encouraged that the international partners and even the region, they went and rallied behind that Tumaini Initiative, encouraging the parties that they need to bring some good news to the country. Some will call them a rescue to the country. Some will call them, sustainable peace. They give them different names. But the most important thing that this country must really get back to a good track so that the suffering of the people can be addressed, then the dignity of the republic can get back. Yesterday, when the political bureau of the SPLM IO sat in Juba, we thought that they will really welcome the positive step that the Tumaini Initiative has taken. But surprisingly, they came up with a gloomy statement which give hopelessness to the people. Then whoever reads it, you get shocked and you try to ask yourself, what's happening in Juba? If the whole of international community, the people of South Sudan are looking positively for something good to come out from Nairobi through the Tumaini Initiative, who are these people here trying to put a dark chapter on that initiative? It doesn't look good totally, and that's created disappointment. And this disappointment, when it reached to hopelessness, is not a good news to the country. So that's why we still appealing to the SPLM IO leadership to rethink their position, go look critically, let them calm their nerves. Even Dr. Riek himself can travel to Nairobi, sit with the mediation, sit with the others, and get the background. How did they arrive to where they are, rather than getting into hasty conclusions, which are presenting hopelessness to the people. Is not a good way of leadership totally. So we still appeal to him. There's still chance for them to go and particularly Dr. Riek himself as the leader of the IO, because he has delegates there already.
There's about 3 ministers there. Actually,
Yeah, so he can travel to Nairobi himself, meet the mediations, meet all the delegates there, and meet all the stakeholders, including the eminent personalities and then the religious leaders, and then listen to them exactly how did they arrive to this protocol, and see how do we move forward. That is the hope we need. We don't need anybody to take us backward.
But there's this concern, Dr. Okuk, from the leadership of the SPLM IO itself about the restriction when it comes to the movement of Dr. Riek Machar, even within the country here. So how can he travel, for instance, to Nairobi if that claim is happen to be true?
No, the restriction is more of political rhetoric than reality, because so far we have not heard of any request from Dr. Riek saying that he want to go to Nairobi, for example, to visit the venue of the negotiation. The same way Mama Rebecca Nyandeng did it the other time, is it? And the rest are welcome to go there. The President Kiir has also traveled there during the inauguration. So I don't think if Dr. Riek said today that he want to travel there, who is against peace? If you are traveling to a place of peace, I don't see anybody restricting. So this is not it's just a political rhetoric. I don't believe it's true that he is restricted to travel even to a peace venue. I don't think so.
Yes, and Dr. Ukuk, there's this concern from the statement of the SPLM IO yesterday, as a result of the meeting. They also talked about the idea, the intention of the Tumaini Initiative is to complement the revitalized peace agreement, but to annex to the revitalized peace agreement, but not to be at the same level, or let's say equating it with the peace agreement. Because now the SPLM IO argument is that the Tumaini Initiative came up with the proposed National Leadership Council, for instance, and it has powers and decisions that cannot be overturned by, maybe it will seize the powers of the presidency, the cabinet, the legislature, and even the National Security Council. Don't you think this argument is genuine or valid from the SPLM-IO?
These are the things that they need to go to the mediation venue, or call the mediators here before they release the statement and listen to them. How did they reach to that conclusion that they need to establish a National Leadership Council? There is a reason why that National Leadership Council was agreed by all the delegates there. And that reason, that's what Victoria and the political bureau who sit here should have found out. How did they reach there? But then, if you look at this National Leadership Council, I don't see it's contradicting even the revitalized peace agreement. Because you see who will be the members of this National Leadership Council. It is the same actors of the revitalized peace agreement. The president will be the president of that council. The first vice president will be also the first vice president in that council, and the rest. So the council will just expand and absorb all the actors who are leading the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement. And then they take decision by consensus, or if the consensus is difficult, they do it by 2/3 majority, so that they take right decision, which are good for the country. So there is nothing to worry about that council, because it will not bring people from outside. It's the same actors that we know will be in that council.
And there is also oversight commission as well.
Yes, even the the security sector oversight commission is also to help how the mechanism that are there in chapter 2, for example, how can they be reinvigorated, and then a leadership is provided for this mechanism, so that they can do their work, so that it is also not, it's not a bad idea, it's not contradictory. The same with committees that they have established to speed up the implementation of what has been agreed by the parties. So the intention behind those committees is not a ill intention. The way I see it, the way I read it, there's nothing contradicting the revitalized peace agreement. In fact, it is reinforcing the implementation. And if there were some shortcoming in leading the implementation, maybe new faces will appear to lead such kind of commissions and such kind of committees, so that the implementation of the revitalized agreement itself, that the very IO delegates, not more than 2 weeks ago, when they presented the report on the evaluation of the agreement, they already confessed that we have not reached beyond 10% of what needed to be implemented. Then the question was, why did we not reach to 10%? So it means there was a lot of factors. Part of it is leadership of these bodies that are supposed to implement. the people who were assigned to lead this body, they were not doing their work, and sometimes they were the one even obstructing the work itself, and sometimes even they ran away with the money and all this. So this has created a problem in the implementation. So with Tumaini said, why don't we reinvigorate and put strong and people who have the heart to implement the agreement into those position to lead the C mechanism that are there in the agreement. The Tumaini is not creating real new mechanism, but reinvigorating the whole mechanism. And if there are mechanisms that are redundant, these are the mechanisms that can be left, and then we move with the vibrant mechanism. So that is the whole intention, which seemed to be misunderstood by the SPLM IO. And the misunderstanding because they are not communicating directly with the mediation and even with the delegates there. Maybe they are hearing from the third parties and they're putting a lot of interpretation into the whole process, which might be wrong in all this.
And one of the activists, Yakani, actually early in the morning, he talked about people having their own interpretation about the Tumaini process. But also I want to bring something to your concern, Dr. Okuk. There are also concerns outside there that political leaders are playing delay tactics to undermine the progress in, or let's say efforts to have a pathway for political transition in the country, and also in a way holding the people in the country as hostage. Do you agree with that concern?
Yes, it's not a secret that after evaluating the status of the revitalized peace agreement from the time it was signed in September 2018 up to now, and then looking at the actors who were put in charge of leading the implementation, you could find out that disappointingly, some of those who were supposed to be at the lead, they were the very one blocking the progress of the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement, particularly toward the democratic transition. Anything that can speed up the progress to a free, fair, and credible election. There are some of these leaders who are afraid of what you call the wrath of the people, because already they have lost popularity on the ground there. And if they go for election, it's an anger vote against them. So this anger vote already, they are afraid of it. So they have been blocking any progress toward election, actually. And even progress toward reform that bring accountability, that bring discipline, that bring transparency, that bring respect to the public good. A number of them don't want, because they are getting rich with this sneaky way of doing things. So they feel threatened in that. So the statement is correct, because the observation of what's happening tells you that exactly some of these politicians, they have been the very blockage of the implementation of the agreement itself. So with Tumaini now, these questions are coming up. Whoever was assigned and was blocking the path of peace, then they have to be told to get out of the way. Let people who can lead the path of peace get in, and then the country move forward, rather than keeping the country hostage. Because there are consequences of keeping the country hostage. When people get fed up and they cannot tolerate suffering anymore, the situation can blow up. And when it blew up, it doesn't know individuals anymore. It becomes a crowd issue that is very difficult to control. So even those who are blocking themselves, they will find themselves victim of that situation. So why do people want to get into a situation that they will not control later? So it's better not to hold the country hostage. Open the path of peace. Peace is an avenue that will also open a lot of opportunities to the young people, to the middle-aged people, to the whole people, even to take care of their health, to take care of their treatment. It is peace that will open that avenue. And already, as we sing it in our national anthem, South Sudan is a land of abundance. It's full of blessing, natural resources. What we lack is only to create a sustainable peace. Once you do that, South Sudan will not be a country of suffering and all this. So these are some of the things some politicians don't have that wider understanding. They look at what they gain now, but the bigger gain, they don't look at it. And we still advise them that the bigger gain is better because it protects your even smaller gain. And then once the whole country benefit, whoever is in the country, including this politician, they benefit. So why do you block the greater benefit because of a smaller gain that you have? And if the greater benefit blew up, your smaller gain will get burned with it. So these are some of the realities that they need to acknowledge.
Yes.
And we urge them really to open their mind and abandon such kind of attitude. They shouldn't hold the country hostage. The country needs peace, and peace will bring development. Development will bring dignity, and dignity will create prosperity. That's what we need. Very simple like that. So if Tumaini Initiative is helping that to reach that, all of us should welcome it rather than block it.
Right. And talking about Tumaini, I want to take you back to 2015. We have the agreement on the resolution, the RSS, and then collapsed in 2016 with the conflict, and then again revitalized in 2018. Pre-transitional period implementation delayed several months. Government was formed, again another extension. Now we're talking about elections in December this year. Now there is this initiative now for Tumaini in Nairobi, but the concern or the question from the people of South Sudan out there, James Okuk, doctor, is that why should they trust this process right now? We have given you enough time to prove yourself, even since independence. So how best can the leaders make good use of this Tumaini initiative? At least they can regain the trust of the common citizens.
Yes, because one of the protocol in this Tumaini process is called trust and confidence building. It was not brought out of nothing, because already, promising what you do not fulfill create mistrust. So if you promise something, you're supposed to fulfill it, then you become trusted. So the revitalized peace agreement was the big promise of the politician that they gave. After messing up with the 2015 agreement, after the fight in the State House here, and then people were running away, and then quickly the region and the international community say this is not acceptable, you need to get back to the negotiating table and stick to the path of peace. So that's how the revitalized agreement came about. The same 2015 agreement, which got revitalized, and then some small revision was done here and there, particularly the timelines and all this. So that was what was done. A second chance was given to them to the revitalized peace agreement. So far, as we are now, they made use of that chance, because I did not see any of these parties that signed the agreement going back to fight among themselves up to now. Even if there are skirmishes here and there, they they resolve it, and they kept staying in Juba here together. So that is a good opportunity, that this agreement. But then the stagnancy of the transition, because the revitalized peace agreement is not supposed to remain there forever. There are milestones that need to be fulfilled so that you move the government back to the people. Moving the government back to the people means give the people chance to vote who they want to be their leader, because this has not happened. So to do that, you need to prepare the ground. At least you have a permanent constitution which is endorsed by the people themselves. And then you create a conducive legal environment where the laws harmonize with what the agreement wants. And then you improve the economy by creating these reforms in the financial sector. And then you improve the humanitarian access in the whole country. And then justice system is strengthened so that people go to courts rather than using violence when they have conflict. So these are all provided in the 8 chapters of the revitalized peace agreement. And this is what these parties promise that they will implement, and then that will create a conducive environment for free and fair election where the government is taken back to the people so that the people decide who should rule. And that would have been the election that could have happened actually 2 years ago. But then the roadmap extended it to next year. But again, these things have not moved. That's why I call it a stagnancy in the implementation. So this stagnancy cannot move forever. Something needs to be done so that you break the factors that are creating this stagnancy. So if Tumaini process can break these factors and then reinvigorate the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement and bring in some of innovative new ideas of how to move forward and rally back the international support, because one of the reason why the agreement also almost slip up, because the international support was not so strong behind this agreement. They were not happy the way some of the mechanisms were run, and also the corruption that was really rampant didn't impress some of these international partners to come in. Now, if South Sudanese politicians can show that they have learned lessons from the blunders they had, and then the Tumaini Initiative is a new hope that will give them a third chance, because the second chance has been given, a third chance.
And there they say it's the final chance, actually.
To put things correct. Then I think there is a way to say, let us give it a try and move on. It is the same actors, but some of them might have changed. Some of them have been outside the government, so they could see better what they were not seeing when they were in the government. Some of them are in the government already, but they might have learned lesson that the way they were running the revitalized agreement is not correct. So let us do it the other way.
Right.
This is what is being expected. There is nothing new actually that we expect more than this. But if such kind of attitude, such kind of mentality is developed around Tumaini Initiative and around the revitalized peace agreement, and you merge them together, the country can have a better chance to have sustainable peace, which will open many avenues for development.
Yes, and Dr. Okuk, I want to briefly talk about elections, but also so many things happening surrounding the issue of elections. Government continues to say that election is happening in December this year. We're seeing the political parties council talking about registering 25 political parties so far, moving on with its activities. The office was recently commissioned. Also, the NEC, the National Elections Commission, setting up structures for offices in the states. And also, we are looking at the remaining period and not forgetting the agreement talks about permanent constitution and security arrangement before the country can go for elections. Now, the Tumaini Initiative, according to the protocols to the document I read, it talks about establishment of some institutions or some commissions to expedite the process. And also it mentioned transitional period, during the transitional period. Don't you think this is now leading to another extension of this transitional period, meaning the country is not likely to go for elections in December this year?
You know, from April this year, the verdict was out that election is not possible in December. From April, maybe before April there was a chance if things were put correct. But from April onward, it was not practical anymore to organize election in December 2024 because of so many reasons. First of all, the Election Act has just been passed. And then that Election Act need a lot of work so that policies are developed, structures that are required are developed. And that need also funding and also technical support. So there are a lot of things that could put the election environment, the election operation in a better shape. But then the act was passed almost a bit late. And then the reconstitution of the commission was also done a bit late. Even the funding of that National Election Commission was also done a bit late. So they are struggling with time factor already, beside other things. And then you have the other institution, because the election is not only run by National Election Commission. The whole machinery of the government should be played toward promoting the election. So if the rest of the mechanism and the rest of the machineries are struggling, and they could have promoted the organization of election, then it tells you also that the election commission cannot operate in isolation. It has to operate with others for it to move forward. This is not happening. Others are struggling here and there. But so far, people are saying the steps they are taking are very encouraging, because staying dormant is not good. So they need to be doing something. So a step they have taken now to organize themselves, establish offices, appoint staff. These are the things that people need to do. They don't need to wait. The same thing with the political parties council. Registering the parties, encouraging them to move forward is also good step forward. This is what we want. Having an office now which is very conducive office, so that they can do their work in a very good work environment. That is also good step. So we are happy and we congratulate them for doing those steps. But we're telling them the election will not take place in December, but continue building on those steps, which will ease the election with the new time that will come. And automatically with Tumaini process, with this protocol now, which is a breakthrough already, the remaining protocol, like they are 8, 7 have already been signed. The remaining protocol, once they sign it, then now they develop a comprehensive document for sustainable peace in South Sudan. I think that now will tell you that we come and reinvigorate. You beef up what those bodies are being. You beef up what the commission is doing now, so that they do more. You beef up what the political parties is doing, so that they do more. And once this is done, then we are sure that within a shorter time, election can take place. It will not delay.
And aren't we talking about having another bloated government? Because this is the concern. Because even the son of late Dr. John Garang Dimabi wrote earlier today on his Facebook, having 550 MPs plus actually the 105 vice presidents, 35 ministers. Now with the Tumaini, don't you think we are going to have another bloated government in which the burden goes back to the common citizens?
Yeah, this is the nature of the transitional period, because the transitional period, you need to accommodate and you need to be inclusive. So that has implication on the bloated government. You won't avoid bloated government within the transitional period. But already this bloated government will be resolved by the constitution. Once the permanent constitution is developed, already it has been agreed that the next government has to be a lean government. And this will be a constitutional requirement. It's not anybody anymore. So once they form this bloated government, it shouldn't worry us now for the transitional period. And then we move toward the constitution making. Then the constitution come up with a lean government with clear structure, and it moves us to federal system of government. This is what the next constitution. So even concentration within Juba won't be there anymore. People have to go to states. because it's a federal system of government. And from the state now, you build up from the grassroots, then you support the top. So it is a pyramid that will come out of that constitutional arrangement. So it will deal away with this bloated government. So it shouldn't worry people as long as we're coming to have this bloated government, and this bloated government will work toward the constitution and toward the other laws, and then we do reforms, we move to election with a new constitution, and then the elected government will be a lean government. So we shouldn't block it. That is the path we're moving. If it is blocked now, we will not reach there. But now if we ease it, even if it is a bloated government and we are moving toward that path, the same of what we want to achieve today, we're going to achieve it with more constitutional guarantees, because this thing will be in the constitution and nobody will play around with it. So that's the understanding that people should develop right now. It's not good to be negative on bloated government during a transitional period.
And also, Dr. Okuk, talking about constitution, there was a proposal from the opposition in Nairobi there about having a constitutional conference. They talked about that. And for instance, drafting constitution in Kenya there, bringing delegates from South Sudan. And I think that proposal was rejected by the government. It was later on dropped, I believe. So, and here we're also talking about the ongoing constitutional making process. So how best can the country really develop its permanent constitution as we speak?
Right now is the same thing. The same way the National Election Commission is moving ahead to establish itself, to do activities. The same way the Political Parties Council is moving ahead to establish itself, to become vibrant, to become functional. It's the same thing also we are encouraging the National Constitutional Review Commission to move ahead the same way. And once the Tumaini is concluded, the Tumaini will come and beef them up. From where they have stopped, the Tumaini should top up and move them forward from there. That is the whole understanding that need to be developed. There is no contradiction, because the intention is to move towards sustainable peace and helping those structures of the government, the institution, to become functional rather than being dormant, to get funded so that they conduct their activities and all this. So once this move forward, it will make life even easy. The constitution making, even the constitutional conference, all of them are part of the process. Nobody will rush to a constitution without a constitutional conference. Nobody will rush to a constitution without grassroots consultation. All of these are requirements of the constitutional process. Even round table discussion are part of the constitution making also. You sit, you discuss, put in issues, and then you develop into a constitutional document. And that document, either it is passed by the Constituent Assembly or it is taken to a referendum so that people decide in a referendum. Right. It happened in Kenya here. It happened in many countries. We are not the first to do this. So once this thing keep running, the country now, the path toward peace will open up. Nobody block it. So that's why we're encouraging these parties. Let them not block the path to sustainable peace. If the Tumaini Initiative is opening that path, nobody should block it. Let that path be open and then we move. The Revitalized Peace Agreement is a very good document. Nobody will throw it away. It has been negotiated articulately also. So nobody will throw it away, but then it has to be reinforced, it is implementation and all this. And then it help with moving the country forward. So I don't see any worry. I don't see any contradiction. People shouldn't say, "Oh, we don't want a bloated government now." No, it's the nature of a transition. An agreement will always bring a bloated government.
Until you have
during the crisis in Kenya, what did they do? They created that government of national unity. It was a bloated government in all this. But later it came and it became a narrow government. So the same thing will happen.
So you're telling the people of South Sudan to bear with
patient a bit. and make sure that the institutions that are supposed to implement the agreement are functional and are moving forward. Once they are functional and they are moving forward, all these things will get down to a very narrow and lean government. And then later we will say we have made it. Congratulations to South Sudan. That's what we're waiting ahead.
Right. And Dr. Okuk, the Tumaini Initiative, and especially the protocol signed, it suggests replacing some of the mechanisms implementing, overseeing the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement, or renaming some of them, because they believe the current mechanisms are not really monitoring the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement as expected. And I remember we had similar conversation with you some years back, talking about RJMEC, talking about CTSAM VM. So do you agree with what they signed in the protocol?
Yes, because if you have mechanism, part of reinvigorating the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement is to look at the mechanism that are almost redundant. They're not doing much. You don't need such kind of mechanism. You become creative and innovative so that you become with more effective mechanism. If you look at RJMEC, the mandate of RJMEC actually is not helpful. It's for them just to write report and present report and stop from there. They don't have any power behind writing reports. So why do we need to spend money of such mechanism? The money that is used by RJMEC, we can use it for other practical mechanism. That is very helpful. So close that RJMEC, let some of those foreigners pack their thing and go back home. And then the money that is spent on them, you rechannel this money, for example, for preparing the election, is better than that having that money. Or you take that money for security arrangement, unification of forces, for example, use that money there. The same thing with CTSAM. It's also another body that also will go and they will wait until people fight, then they visit the place, they write how many died and whatever, and that is the end of it. No action after that. So such kind of mechanism, they just superfluous. They're not helpful to the country, and they are spending money. And part of the reason also these mechanisms are falling off from the Tumaini, because the donors are fed up to funding this mechanism. And every time they cut another one, come and nothing moves. So the donors are saying we're not wasting our money on mechanisms that do not help in the implementation of action that are needed in all this. So for me, I don't regret some of those mechanisms being put off, so that you save money and rechannel money to the more active mechanisms that are needed. And then we don't need a lot of foreigners to come to the country to tell us what to do. If our politicians alone, they can learn to build consensus, sit down, dialogue. They can be their own guarantors of the agreement. And that is the political will that has been missing. Once they develop it, they regain the trust. We don't need these bodies that are run by foreigners. South Sudanese alone are capable to run these bodies that are created to replace this one, because now they are mostly controlled by South Sudan. Then you can have guarantors at the level of head of states and government. This is the guarantors we need, not just a small official who will not even be respected. For example, if you pick RJMEC here, the head of RJMEC, is he at the weight of the President of the Republic? Is he at the weight of the Vice President? How will they respect him, even if he tell them do this? Because they are of a little weight. So such kind of mechanism are not helpful. And I am happy that Tumaini has realized that, because I have been myself very vocal on this. And it is time for them to pack and go home, and then new mechanisms that are more of a weight, that have authority. This is what we need. Wow. For example, the National Leadership Council, led by South Sudanese, they have the authority from the president, the first vice president, the other vice president, and the rest who are there. They take decision collectively. And then they say, this is what we want for the country. And it's more effective than than having these bodies that do not have that authority.
Right.
Yeah.
And you earlier talked about we talked about having bloated government, and this is part of inclusivity of bringing everyone on board. Thomas Cirillo, Gadwech, Emmanuel Ejawin, among others, are not part of the Tumaini Initiative. And we are here looking at inclusivity. Dr. James Okuk, how best can they be persuaded really to join the Tumaini Initiative?
The mediation has been in contact with them, but also in politics there is freedom of position. You have your own position, you are free to alter it, and you are free to abandon it, depending on your reading of the situation. So those you have mentioned, Thomas Cirillo, Garwich, who is stranded in Sudan, Thomas Cirillo is moving abroad, Emmanuel Ejawin is also moving abroad, and Dr. Alex is also moving abroad. They were part of the SOMA. Actually, they were the founders of the SOMA. And then they were in the room mediation under Senigidio community. But they have not progressed the same way the Tumaini now has progressed. And it was just like a talk show. People go, spend like 1 week, talk, and then disperse again. So it was becoming unpractical. So that's why it was transferred to Kenya, and then Senigido joined even the mediation in Kenya. After that, they contacted everybody. I remember Simon Garwich said he has received his letter, but he cannot travel because of reasons that are known to himself. Then Thomas Cirillo was also invited, but he said unless he gave condition that he will not come there. But already there is part of his group that is called
Revolution Command Council.
Revolution Command Council. They are already part of. So already he's divided and weakened by this, because if you get divided, you get weakened. So he's not a strong Thomas Cirillo when he was with all his group. Now some of his group are divided. So it means he's getting into a weaker position because of that division. Emmanuel worked closely with Thomas Cirillo. You can't separate them. So they almost have the same idea. So their problem is that the revitalized peace agreement has not addressed the root causes of the problem. But also people were saying you can't address the root causes of a problem in a hotel. You need to get it into the constitution. So most of the root causes of the problem are addressed constitutionally, so that they are guaranteed constitutionally in all this. So, but then they don't wait, they don't trust that people will reach into that constitution. But what is the alternative in all this? Sometimes they talk of this round table conference, but then after the round table, after we have talked on the round table, people ask, what next? After that, sometimes they don't provide a clear answer of what next after the round table. So that's why their position is getting weaker. And still, the Tumaini has not concluded. They still have the chance to join, because the door is still open for inclusivity in Tumaini. If they decide that they want to join, it's better than holding out there. But if they decide they don't want to join, and the parties who are in Tumaini agreed, and then they sign an agreement, there is no need to wait for them. Let them come, move forward, and implement. As a government, maybe they can go and negotiate with them afterward. It's not a big deal. As long as the country is moving, that train of peace is moving, then people should say, let it move. It shouldn't be stopped, or it shouldn't be taken forward. That train need to move, and it must arrive to the station. The station is the constitution, permanent constitution, which is people-centered constitution, and then we move to the election. And that concludes the transitional period, and the lean government now will take over in a federal system of government in South Sudan.
Right. Dr. Okuk, I want to take you back to how we started our conversation with the statement of the SPLM IO. And earlier today, a member of one of the stakeholders to the Tumaini Initiative said the argument from the member is that the SPLM should have actually withdrawn from the unity government delegation, not from the peace talk itself, because they went there as unity government. There were no there are no parties there in the government delegation. Then they went as one body representing the transitional government of national unity. So they should have actually withdrawn from the unity government itself, but not from the peace talks itself, because there is no one or no party called SPLM IO in the Tumaini Initiative. How do you look at that?
It's very tricky for them, because if they're not careful to read it, they might lose. The delegation that has remained in Tumaini, if they go ahead and they sign the agreement, and the SPLM IO has withdrawn from that, and they have not withdrawn from the government, because now if they want to be looked credibly, that they are not part of what is going on after withdrawing from the Tumaini Initiative, the next step they should withdraw from the revitalized government of national unity, so that they get outside the government, so that whatever is done in the name of the government, they are not part of it. So this is where now their position will be looked credibly. But if they have not withdrawn from the government, that will be considered as making noise. And making noise without taking radical steps, sometimes it becomes just political rhetoric in all this. So in case if they want to be taken seriously, that they mean what they have written, the next step is to see them withdrawing from the revitalized government of national unity and stay outside that government as an opposition. And then wait for election or for whatever they think is the right way, and let the government of national unity, that as the delegates, continue with the non-signatories, that is the opposition group that is there, and then the stakeholders that is there, and then the guarantors, and then the observers. These are the categories that are in the mediation. So the choice is for the SPLM IO, if they think they are not part of the government, because the government is the one negotiating this peace of Tumaini, and it was initiated by the President of the Republic, who is the head of the government. So if they think they don't want to be part of it, we will advise them to withdraw from the government. That is the right choice that any dignified opposition can take. And people will understand from there. And if things do not go well later, they will not be blamed. The same way now, Thomas, the same way Ambassador Emmanuel, the same way Dr. Alex, the same way Simon Garwich are saying they are not part of the initiative, but they are not part of the government. So they are staying out there and trying to see what they can do next in that. So these are the possibility that are they are tough decisions, but they need to be taken. Otherwise, if they don't want to withdraw from the government, it's better they go back and re-withdraw their withdrawal and go back to the Tumaini process and move the country forward as one government. Because the direction they are not taking is not a prudent direction. It's a halfway. They need to complete it. So either they are fully with the peace process, or they are out from the peace process. There is no middle way. So that is the ball is in their court. And we as political analysts, we just observing, and we will give our opinion in time if that comes. But we still urge them. They have the right to protest or to issue a statement, but they don't have the right to paint a bleak future to the people of South Sudan. They don't have the right to make people hopeless. Because if Tumaini is bringing hope, somebody who bring hopelessness to the people, mean is not serious for the good of the country. So this is what we want to advise our brothers and sisters in the SPLM IO. They have said what they said, but it's better they rejoin the Tumaini. And if there are things they are afraid of, let them thresh it out within the mediation, including Dr. Riek himself can go. Because I remember during the Comprehensive Peace Agreement negotiation, after the Machakos Protocol in 2002, there were a lot of rows in Khartoum. Even President Bashir himself was threatening that those who have signed the Machakos Protocol should soak it in water and drink it. But later, they realized that is beyond what they say. And then they have to swallow what they said and rejoin and even bring more stronger delegates to the mediation. It's more or less the same. It's the same. Lazarus Mbeo is the one running this mediation. He's a very tough mediator. So SPLM IO will face it very rough also with that mediation, the same way the NCP in Khartoum faced it during the negotiation. So it is up to them to decide, but I am seeing that they will rejoin. They will not run away. They will not even take that risk of withdrawing from the government. They will go back to the Tumaini process. And we're hoping that toward the end of this year, the rest of the protocol that are remaining should be signed. And then by January, the same way we had with the CPA, we would have a very comprehensive, sustainable peace agreement under Tumaini Initiative. And then the country will move forward.
Right.
Yes.
Dr. James Okuk, political analyst, thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you.
You're welcome, Emmanuel.
Yes, thanks.
Yes.
Very nice.